Hi, this is Chris Walters with HVAC Onsite, and today I'm going to be showing you a dehumidifier solution that was donated by April Air and Shear Supply. Now what we have is we have a dehumidifier here that comes with a fresh air option. The dehumidifier has a smart controller basically inside of it where we're able to set how many minutes per hour we need for fresh air. It's a really neat device, and I've added some enhancement to it to kind of make it what I call the complete solution. So let me start off by just saying that all houses need fresh air, and in my opinion, all houses need dehumidification. So if you think about the fresh air, ASHRAE 62.2 gives us the fresh air requirements that we need for houses. Those fresh air requirements end up in a dehumidifier, end up being basically how many minutes per hour do we need to bring fresh air in. With the April Air controller, I can go in and I can tell it exactly how many minutes per hour I need the fresh air damper open. Fresh air damper sits up here on the top, and it'll open that fresh air damper. Now this controller is able to wire, and I've got it wired through my thermostat and through my unit, my AC unit, to where it's able to dehumidify with or without the AC. It's able to dehumidify only. It's able to dehumidify and ventilate. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't care if the AC unit's running or not running. If it needs to add fresh air into the home, it'll turn itself on. It'll bring the fresh air into the home, satisfy the minutes that it needs to run per hour, and then it'll go into dehumidify mode if it needs to. If we're looking at a couple of the windows that I've added to this particular one here, it's so that when it's running, when we're demonstrating it, we can see the dampers inside of it. I'm going to turn this one on, and you can watch the dampers inside. It'll go into sampling mode the minute I turn it on, and we've actually painted the dampers red so you're able to look at them as they open. So the first time I turn it on, it'll sample air for about 3 minutes and determine what does it need to do. So you can see now the fresh air damper, which is a damper in the top. The fresh air damper is starting to open. The dampers are linked together, so the bottom damper is going to close, which is the return. I have the ability to go up on the top and limit how far that can be closed. Really nice device. What's happening is when it goes into fresh air mode like this, it's going to bring fresh air in from the outside. Now we can satisfy those fresh air requirements by simply bringing in say a 6-inch duct and tying it into our return, but that's going to bring in all sorts of humid air, hot air, cold air, dirty air, all sorts of things. With the dehumidifier solution like the April Air one here, we're going to bring that fresh air in, it's going to turn on the dehumidifier, it's going to satisfy our needs, it's going to run that air through a filter, it's going to filter it. So we're getting clean, dry, fresh air in the house when we need it, as much as we need, and we don't have to suffer any of the consequences of the old ways of doing it. Now the other cool thing about it is I can go into the controller and I can tell it all sorts of things. I can tell it, don't bring fresh air in if it's this hot outside. Don't bring fresh air in if it's this cold outside. I have limits to what I can set on the fresh air. Now this particular one here, I've taken and added a vent fan for the attic. Now remember, a lot of homes now are using encapsulated sealed foamed attics, and when you bring in a sealed attic, what you do is you bring in a moisture trap. If you don't have some sort of method of ventilating that attic, well then moisture creates in that attic and it causes all sorts of moisture related issues. With a dehumidifier, I can just put a dehumidifier in that attic, but what if I can use a dehumidifier that can bring fresh air into my home, satisfy the home fresh air exchanges I need, dry my home, filter the air that's coming into my home, but then what if it can also interlock with a attic fan that's moving air out of my attic, moving stale, wet air out of my attic, and only doing so when the dehumidifier is bringing in fresh air. And that's what I've done here. I've taken the April Air unit, I've interlocked the damper on the April Air unit to an interlock, and that interlock goes to my attic fan, which is right here. And that attic fan is only running when my April Air unit is bringing fresh air in. So what I have is a slightly pressurized house. I've got April Air bringing in fresh air. blowing that fresh air into my plenum, discharging that fresh air into my house, creating a slightly positive pressure in my house. That positive pressure is going to diffuse, some of that air is going to diffuse up into my attic. And then that air in the attic is going to get moved out of the attic by this fan here, which again only runs when fresh air is being brought in. So when we call this the home house whole solution, we totally believe it.